So, oh, and the other important thing about apparel or dress or style is that it should fit within your demographic. So, if your values and identity is a successful professional who's ambitious and cares about, whatever your job is or achievement, you should dress to that. If you're a crazy punk rocker, you should dress to that. If you're, if you're into like World of Warcraft role play and you've got like a badass grunt costume and you want to like run around with a battle axe, do that. Whatever your demographic is, max out in your demographic. It should reflect your identity, reflect your commitment to yourself. But the most important thing with this stuff is it's not, people look at, a lot of people, they assume dressing well, being good looking, being in good shape, these things are inherently attractive. I personally believe the reason these things are so attractive is because they signify that you care about yourself. Remember, your attractiveness is judged by how you perceive yourself. And so, if you're in good shape, if you exercise, if you dress well, and you pursue things that you're passionate and interested in, that shows that you care about yourself. That shows that you value yourself. It shows that you have clear values, clear boundaries, high self-esteem, and that you're likely to be high status and really sexy. This is another one that makes a lot of guys anxious. They think they have to be rich or super successful or have a badass car for women to like them. Now, if you apply the laws of demographics to success and money, if you apply assortment theory to success and money, what does it tell you? It tells you the type of women who are highly attracted to success and money, or the type of women that you need to be successful and have money to attract, are the women who highly value success and money. Which is not necessarily all women. And the interesting thing is the guys who feel like they need to throw money around and blow tons of money, live the quote-unquote high life, what do they end up attracting? They end up attracting freeloaders, groupies, gold diggers. I could tell you right now, I remember when I was broke and I used to go out, I used to be like, man, if I could just buy a table and like a bunch of bottles and just go crazy, buy drinks for like 25 people, I'd be so the man. And then I made a bunch of money and I did that, and I was like, it did not make anything that much better. It's a very superficial boost to status. The interesting thing about success and money that research has shown in terms of how women find it attractive is that women are equally attracted to men they perceive as having potential for success as they are with men who already have success. So for instance, if a woman met a man who was, say, 35 and a millionaire and very smart and industrious, that would have a certain level of appeal for her. But when if she met a 25-year-old who wanted to start a business and was very ambitious and intelligent and industrious, they actually have about the same level of attraction for that, even though he has no money and has not achieved success yet. And finally, that says, lack of independence is the anti-attractor. So anybody in here still live with mom and dad? All right, move out as soon as possible. Like, get your own money and move out as soon as possible. Before anything else. Seriously. Like, it's almost magic. It's almost magic or anti-magic, you could say. My experience with guys who are still living at home with mom and dad, especially the older they get, is that they're basically, anything they do doesn't work. And as soon as they move out, everything just starts changing very quickly. And I honestly believe that there's a very strong unconscious psychological mechanism where when you are not financially independent, when you are still living off mom and dad, in a way you're still emotionally reliant on mom and dad as well. And so until that breaks, you can't become emotionally self-reliant, which means you can't become attractive to the women you meet. When I started coaching, I had a number of clients who still live with mom and dad, and it was like no matter how much we did, how much we worked, they made no headway. And then as soon as they focused on their career, got money, moved out, like everything started changing. And some of them, one of them was, I think he was 30, 31. So yeah, it's these days whenever I run into a guy in that situation, I say, forget everything else, get your money in order and move out, pretty much. The other thing that is universally attractive is an active social life and lifestyle. And again, this fits within your demographic. This should exemplify your demographic. So yeah, it's great that you're into jazz and abstract or impressionistic art, but if you just sit at home by yourself, staring at paintings on the internet and listening to CDs by yourself, it doesn't signify anything. Your identity can only go so far by itself. It doesn't become crystallized until you go out and share it with others. And so you can't build true confidence until you develop an active and healthy lifestyle where you're regularly sharing yourself with others. The last demographic I want to talk about, and it's mainly, I just want to talk about it because this is a demographic that comes up a lot. I call them the 1%er women, which is like the top 1% in terms of, I guess, physical attractiveness or physical beauty. It's funny, as the years have gone on, I really just hate measuring or putting any sort of number on physical appearance or beauty at all. Because, I mean, we could probably all sit here and argue which women are in the 99th percentile of appearance and which ones aren't. But since this is one of the most common questions. Guys are always like, oh, I want to date the hottest of the hot girls. How do I get the hottest of the hot girls? I figure I put a section in my book about it, and I figure I'll spend a few minutes and talk about it here. Paradoxically, the most important thing you can do is stop caring how hot they are. I wrote an article on my site once where basically the argument I made was even the fact that you decide, like if you see a woman, you're like, that's one of the hottest women I've seen in years or seen in months. She's like top of the top. As soon as you make those judgments and those differentiations, you're immediately pushing your inferiority gap down. Even recognizing that, your inferiority gap is expanding. And so the first and most important piece of advice is to honestly not give a shit how hot they are. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. That doesn't mean you can't check them out and stare at them. I mean, we all, as men, we all like to look at beautiful women. The best way I saw it described, you know, because women are always like, why do men stare? Why do men gawk at women? Best description I saw is somebody said, imagine, like it was written to women. It was like, imagine you see the most beautiful sunset. That's basically how we feel every time we see like an ultra hot woman. It's just like, you just can't not look at it. But anyway, doesn't mean you can't enjoy it, doesn't mean you can't appreciate it, doesn't mean you can't sit there and be like, wow, she's really beautiful, she's really hot. But as soon as you start making these differentiations like, she's the hottest girl in the room, she's the hottest girl I've ever talked to, she's a 10, she's a 9.5, she's a model, she's a stripper. As soon as you start making any of these judgments, the inferiority gap grows. And a lot of guys make a lot of justifications. They say, well, if she's one of the 1% hottest girls, then obviously 99% of the guys are hitting on her. And so you have to treat them differently. They're different than other women. They're inherently different than other women. And what does that sound like? Anybody? Defense mechanism? Justification for anxiety? What happens is, guy sees super hot woman, he says, wow, she's super hot, that's rare, that's amazing, I can't believe I'm going to talk to her. Inferiority gap gets huge. He gets anxious, starts performing, acts like a dick, and then he justifies it by saying, well, super hot girls are bitchy, or they're different, or they get hit on all the time, and it sabotages everything. But when you're not affected by how hot she is, when you treat her like every other person you meet in your entire life, because you're equal, an amazing thing happens. Because there is one thing that's a little bit different about them, is that they go through life and every single guy that they meet tries to impress them. Every single one. And if you're the one guy who doesn't, if you're the one guy who doesn't care, is not impressed by her, it's like, oh, you're hot. Congrats. You won the genetic lottery. Tell me what you're interested in. Tell me what you care about. What are your values? That's actually a very rare thing that these women experience very, very seldomly. And so, in a weird, paradoxical way, if you can achieve this, these actually become some of the easiest women to pick up, because you become such a rare person for her to meet. Does that make sense? That's why when I first started coming on, like figuring all this stuff out, and I wrote my book, it was interesting. When I wrote my book, I started getting into all this stuff, I thought, when I was writing it, I thought, man, a lot of people are going to fucking hate this. I thought I was going to be criticized a lot. To my surprise, the book has gotten almost universal praise. But what it got is it got a lot of yeah buts. And I talked about some of them yesterday. The first big yeah buts were, yeah, Mark, your book's great, and this would be great for finding a relationship or finding a girlfriend or getting married. But I want to go out and have fun, and I want to party, and I want to have sex, and I want to meet the hottest girls. And one of the yeah buts that I got for a while was, yeah, it's easier, yeah, you're like the methods you're describing and adopting these mindsets, yeah, it's easier and it's less stressful and it's emotionally healthier, but if you want the hottest girls, you have to perform and do this, this, and this, and this. And my experience has been the complete opposite. It's basically, and the fact of the reason it's been the opposite is because the majority of the men out there, in my experience, have big inferiority gaps and are performing all the time. And the hotter the girl, the more performance she has to put up with her entire life. And so when you are the one real person, the one real guy who can express his sexuality in a very real and authentic way, without slobbering all over her and acting like a dick, it's very rare. I almost said it was very special. Tear. The other thing about them, though, is that because they do have so many options, you really do have to have your lifestyle in order. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be a rock star. It doesn't mean you have to be fucking Kanye West. You don't have to be Richard Branson. But you need to have your lifestyle in order. That means good job, financially independent, cool hobbies, cool friends, cool interests. But honestly, that's kind of true for, any high quality woman. Remember, assortment theory comes back. If you've got a big hole in your lifestyle, you're going to end up with a woman with a big hole in her lifestyle. If you've got a badass, rock solid lifestyle, you're going to end up with women with badass, rock solid lifestyles. Build an identity for yourself. Accentuate that identity. Use it to polarize. Express it authentically. See how all these things are fitting together now. It's like just lining everything up. It's based on real solid psychological research, and also a bunch of fuck stories. Lifetime of fuck stories.